Show me a heart unfettered by foolish dreams, and I'll show you happy men. But only in our dreams can men be truly free. It always thus, it was always thus, and it always will be. Thus, it always will be. And yeah, if you know the movie The Dead Poems, that Dead Poet Society, तो आपको ये समझ में आ रहा होगा कि मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ यहाँ पे. The second thought is important over here. From my perspective, in only dreams can men in only in our dreams can men be truly free. It was always thus, thus it always will be. Right. So yeah. वेलकम बैक एवरीवन. सो सुबह थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लम आ गई थी, टेक्निकल इशू. तो बहुत ज़्यादा वीडियो लैग कर रहा था, ऑडियो वीडियो में सिंक नहीं था. पता नहीं नेटवर्क का था, पता नहीं कुछ तो प्रॉब्लम थी. आई थिंक अभी चीज़ें सही चल रही हैं. तो हम पहुंच गए थे पेज नंबर 55 पे. बुक हम पढ़ रहे हैं मैंस सर्च फॉर मीनिंग. टोटल इसमें पेजेस है 148. हम 55th पेज पे ऑलरेडी पहुंच चुके हैं. ठीक है, तो यहाँ से हम अपनी जर्नी स्टार्ट करते हैं. अगर मैं आपको एक ब्रीफ समरी दे दूं कि इसमें चल क्या रहा था, तो डॉक्टर विक्टर फ्रैंकल जो एक कंसंट्रेशन कैंप में थे, वो एडवर्स कंडीशन के बारे में बता रहे थे और अपने एक्सपीरियंस को अभी वो बता रहे हैं. इसके बाद वो आगे लोगोथेरेपी के बारे में बात करेंगे, जहाँ से जो मैंस सर्च ऑफ मीनिंग ये बुक का टाइटल है ना, फिर हम उस डायरेक्शन में मूव करेंगे कि एक मैन की लाइफ में मीनिंग की कितनी ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंस होती है. अगर आपको पता है कि आप कोई चीज़ कर रहे हो, क्यों कर रहे हो, तो वो आपके लिए एक ब्लेसिंग की तरह है. तो इसीलिए मेरी उन लोगों की तरफ बहुत ज़्यादा रिस्पेक्ट है जो वो चीज़ें कर पा रहे हैं जो एक्चुअल में वो करना चाहते हैं. आई विल रिस्पेक्ट people who are doing the things that they want to do rather than the people who are earning a lot by doing the things that they really don't want to do. तो यहाँ पे मेरे लिए क्राइटेरिया ये है कि आप अगर अपना एम पैसन वो सारी चीज़ें फॉलो कर पा रहे हो, तो आप लाइफ को एक अच्छे तरीके से जी पा रहे हो. बाकी दूसरी तरफ के लिए भी कोई डिसरिस्पेक्ट नहीं है. ऑब्वियसली बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लम होती है लाइफ में. कोई अपनी मजबूरी में ही ऐसा काम करता है जिसमें उसका मन नहीं है. मटीरियलिस्टिक चीज़ें हो सकती है, या आप बोल सकते हो कि फाइनेंशियल नीड्स हो सकती हैं. बिन दैट डन दैट, सो आई नो व्हाट आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट. बट ट्राई करो जितनी जल्दी आप इस रैट रेस से बाहर आ पाओ, तो ही आप लाइफ की फुल मीनिंग को अंडरस्टैंड कर पाओगे. कुछ ऐसा जो आपको एक्चुअल में खुशी देता है, अगर आप वैसा काम कर पाओ. काम तो देखो करना ही है, पर अगर अपनी पसंद का काम हो तो दैट इज़ वेरी 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 गुड. राइट. तो अब चलते हैं विक्टर फ्रैंकल के पास वापस, जो इस बुक के ऑथर भी हैं, जो अपने एक्सपीरियंस को अभी बता रहे हैं. द नेक्स्ट मॉर्निंग आई डिपार्टेड विद द ट्रांसपोर्ट. ओके, जस्ट गिव मी 1 सेकेंड. आई होप मेरी ऑडियो वीडियो सब चीज़ें सही हैं. रैंडमली में बोलना तो ठीक है. थिंग्स आर फाइन, थिंग्स आर फाइन. ओके, जस्ट गिव मी 1 सेकेंड. ऑल राइट. एक मिनट, एक मिनट, एक मिनट, एक मिनट. और जो लोग भी मेरे चैनल पे पहले बार आ रहे हैं, तो अगर आपका जनरली बुक रीडिंग पे, लॉजिक पे और क्यूरियोसिटी, पीस, स्पिरिचुअलिटी, इन चीज़ों में अगर आपका इंटरेस्ट है, तो आप सब्सक्राइब कर सकते हो चैनल को, क्योंकि जनरली वही चीज़ मैं यहाँ पे कर रहा हूँ. दैट इज़ व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू डू ओवर हियर. एंड करंटली हम पढ़ रहे हैं मेंस सर्च फॉर मीनिंग. इससे पहले हमने अष्टवक्र महागीता पढ़ी थी. ठीक है, तो मैं यहाँ से वॉइस बंद कर देता हूँ. वॉइस तो सही है. अब हम स्टार्ट करते हैं, कंटिन्यू करते हैं. स्टार्ट तो हमने ऑलरेडी कर दिया, राइट. तो अगर आपको लगे कि आपकी लाइफ में कुछ वैल्यू ऐड हो सकती है, या आपका इन चीज़ों में इंटरेस्ट है, तो आप सब्सक्राइब भी कर सकते हो चैनल को. ठीक है. एंड यू कैन लाइक दी लाइव स्ट्रीम एज वेल. वेलकम एवरी वन. ऑलराइट. नाउ कमिंग बैक टू विक्टर फ्रैंकल. द नेक्स्ट मॉर्निंग आई डिपार्टेड विद द ट्रांसपोर्ट. दिस टाइम इट वॉज नॉट अ रूज. सो बेसिकली ट्रांसपोर्ट जब भी किया जाता था उन लोग को, तो उनके मन में एक डाउट ऐसा रहता था कि कहीं हमको कंसंट्रेशन कैंप या गैस चेम्बर्स में तो नहीं ले जाया जा रहा है. राइट. तो जनरली कोई भी अगर वीक है या कोई काम का नहीं है, तो उसको गैस चैम्बर में ले जाया जाता था. ऐसा होता था उस टाइम पे. उस एक्सपीरियंस को यहाँ पे बता रहे हैं, जो इस बुक का क्रक्स नहीं है. राइट. उस चीज़ पे हमारा मेन एम नहीं है. हमारा मेन एम है कि मीनिंग कैसे सर्च करी उन्होंने, इतनी एडवर्सिटी से उन्होंने क्या सीखा, कैसे वो मीनिंग सीख पाए, लोगोथेरेपी क्या होता है वो हम समझेंगे. बट उससे पहले कॉन्टेक्स्ट के तौर पे जो उन्होंने एक्सपीरियंस बताए हैं वो हम देख रहे हैं. ठीक है. द नेक्स्ट मॉर्निंग आई डिपार्टेड विद द ट्रांसपोर्ट. दिस टाइम इट वॉज नॉट अ रूज. We were not heading for the gas chambers. And we actually did go to the rest camp. Those who had pitied me remained in a camp where famine was to rage even more fiercely than in our new camp. They tried to save themselves, but they only sealed their own fates. Months later, after liberation, I met a friend from the old camp. He related to me how he, as camp policeman, had searched for a piece of human flesh that was missing from a pile of corpses. He confiscated it from a pot in which he found it cooking. Alright. Cannibalism had broken out. I had left just in time. Does this not bring to mind the story of death in Tehran? A rich and mighty Persian once walked in his garden with one of his servants. The servant cried that he had just encountered death, whose had who had threatened him. He begged his master to give him his fastest horse so that he could make haste and flee to Tehran, which he could reach that same evening. The master consented, and the servant galloped off on the horse. On returning to his house, the master himself met death and questioned him, "Why did you terrify and threaten my servant?" "I did not threaten him. I only showed surprise in still finding him here when I planned to meet him tonight in Tehran," said said Death. Okay, the camp inmate was frightened of making decision and of taking any sort of initiative whatsoever. This was the result of a strong feeling that fate was one's master, and that one must not try to influence it in any way, but instead let it take its own course. In addition, there was a great apathy, which contributed in no small part to the feelings of the prisoner. At times, lightning decisions had to be made, decisions which spelled life or death. The prisoner would have preferred to let fate make the choice for him. This escape from commitment was most apparent when a prisoner had to make the decision for or against an escape attempt. In those minutes in which he had to make up his mind, and it was always a question of minutes, he suffered the torture of hell. Should he make the attempt to flee? Should he take the risk? So that these are the questions that the person has in his mind. I too experienced this torment. As the battlefront drew nearer, I had the opportunity to escape. A colleague of mine who had to visit huts outside the camp in the course of his medical duties wanted to escape and take me with him. जनरली ऐसा होता है ना कि सही टाइम पे सही जगह पे पहुंचना बहुत ज़रूरी है, तो उसके लिए कहीं से निकलना भी बहुत ज़रूरी है. जैसे ये रैट रेस वाले एग्जांपल से मैं रिलेट कर पा रहा हूँ. जैसे मजबूरी में बहुत फाइनेंशियल हमारी नीड होती है जिसको फुलफिल करने के लिए हम रैट रेस में एंटर करते हैं. रैट रेस से मेरा मतलब है कि सिर्फ मनी ओरिएंटेड हम जॉब करते हैं, बट फिर वो कहीं ना कहीं लग्जरी टाइप भी हमको देने लग जाती है और हम उसी में इतना इंडल्ज हो जाते हैं कि हम बाहर नहीं निकल पाते हैं उससे. राइट. सो एस्केप करना भी बहुत ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है. ये तो मैं मॉडर्न लाइफ के हिसाब से बोल रहा हूँ, बट यहाँ पे तो सर्वाइवल के लिए एस्केप करना था इन लोगों को. रिस्क लेने में भी कभी कभी डर लगता है, एंड विच इज़ अंडरस्टैंडेबल, बट रिस्क लेना बहुत ज़रूरी है. रिग्रेट से बढ़िया है रिस्क. रिस्क इज़ ऑलवेज बेटर देन रिग्रेट. A colleague of mine who had to visit huts outside the camp in the course of his medical duties wanted to escape and take me with him. Under the presence of holding a consultation about a patient whose illness required a specialist's advice, he smuggled me out. Outside the camp, a member of a foreign resistance movement was to supply us with uniforms and documents. At the last moment, there were some technical difficulties and we had to return to camp once more. We used this opportunity to provide ourselves with provisions, a few rotten potatoes, and to look for a rucksack. We broke into an empty hut of the women's camp, which was vacant as the women had been sent to another camp. The hut was in great disorder. It was obvious that many women had acquired supplies and fled. There were racks, straw, rotting food, and broken crockery. Some bowls were still in good condition and would have been very valuable to us, but we decided not to take them. We knew that lately, as conditions had become desperate, they had been used not only for food but also as wash basins and chamber pots. There was a strictly enforced rule against having any kind of utensil in the hut. However, some people were forced to break this rule, especially the type typhus patients who were much too weak to go outside even with help. While I acted as a screen, my friend broke into the hut and returned shortly with a rucksack which he hid under his coat. He had seen another one inside which I was to take. So we changed places. I went in. As I searched in the rubbish, finding the rucksack and even a toothbrush, I suddenly saw among all the things that had been left behind the body of a woman. I ran I ran back to my hut to collect all my possessions, my food bowl, a pair of torn mittens inherited from a dead typhus patient, and a few scraps of paper covered with shorthand notes, on which, as I mentioned before, I had started to reconstruct the manuscript which I lost at Auschwitz. I made a quick last round of my patients, who were lying huddled on the rotten planks of wooden on either side of the huts. I came to my only countryman who was almost dying and whose life it had been and my ambition to save in spite of his condition. I had to keep my intention to escape to myself, but my comrade seemed to guess that something was wrong. Perhaps I showed a little nervousness. In a tired voice, he asked me, "You too are getting out." I denied it, but found it difficult to avoid his sad look. After my round, returned to him. Again, a hopeless look greeted me, and somehow I felt it to be an accusation. The unpleasant feeling that had gripped me as soon as I had told my friend I would escape with him because more intense became more intense. Suddenly I decided to take fate into my own hands for once. I ran out of the hut and told my friend that I could not go with him. As soon as I had told him with finality that I had made my mind to stay with my patients, the unhappy feeling left me. I did not know what the following days would bring, but I had gained an inward peace that I had never experienced before. I returned to the hut, sat down on the boards of my countryman's feet, and tried to comfort him. Then I chatted with the others, trying to quiet them in their delirium. Our last day in camp arrived. As the battlefront came nearer, mass transports has taken nearly all the prisoners to other camps. The camp authorities, the capos, and the cooks had fled. On this day, an order was given that the camp must be evacuated completely by sunset. Even the few remaining prisoners, the sick, a new doctors, and some nurses would have to leave. At night, the camp was to be set on fire. In the afternoon, the trucks which were to collect the sick had not yet appeared. Instead, the camp gates were suddenly closed and the barbed wire closely watched, so that no one could attempt an escape. The remaining prisoners seemed to be destined to burn with the camp. For the second time, my friend and I decided to escape. We had been given an order to bury three men outside the barbed wire fence. We were the only two in camp who had strength enough to do the job. Nearly all the others lay in the few huts which were still in use, prostrate with fever and delirium. We now made our plans. Along with the first body, we would smuggle out my friend's rucksack, hiding it in the old laundry tub which served as a coffin. When we took out the second body, we would also carry out my rucksack. And on the third trip, we intended to make our escape. The first two trips went according to plan. After we returned, I waited while my friend tried to find a piece of bread so that we would have something to eat during the next few days in the woods. I waited. Minutes passed. I became more and more impatient as he did not return. After 3 years of imprisonment, I was picturing freedom joyously, imagining how wonderful it would be to run toward the battlefront, but we did not get that far. The very moment when my friend came back, the camp gate was thrown open. A splendid aluminium colored car on which were painted large red crosses slowly rolled on the parade ground. A delegate from the International Red Cross in Geneva had arrived, and the camp and its inmates were under his protection. The delegate billeted himself in a farmhouse in the vicinity in order to be near the camp at all times in case of emergency. Who worried about escapes now? Boxes with medicine were unloaded from the car, cigarettes were distributed, we were photographed, and joy reigned supreme. Now there was no need for us to risk running toward the fighting line. In our excitement, we had forgotten the third body, so we carried it outside and dropped it into the narrow grave we had dug for the three corpses. The guard who accompanied us, a relatively inoffensive man, suddenly became quite gentle. He saw that the tables might be turned and tried to win our goodwill. He joined in the short prayers that we offered for the dead men before throwing soil over them. After the tension and excitement of the past days and hours, those last days in our race with death, the words of our prayer asking for peace were as fervent as any ever uttered by the human voice. And so the last day in camp passed in anticipation of freedom. But we had rejoiced too early. The Red Cross delegate had assured us that an agreement had been signed and that the camp must not be evacuated. But that night, the SS arrived with trucks and brought an order to clear the camp. The last remaining prisoners were to be taken to a central camp from which they would be sent to Switzerland within 48 hours to be exchanged for some prisoners of wars. We secretly recognized the SS. They were so friendly, trying to persuade us to get in the trucks without fear, telling us that we should be grateful for our good luck. Those who were strong enough crowded into the trucks, and the seriously ill and feeble were lifted up and with difficulty. My friend and I, we did not hide our rucksacks now, stood in the last group, from which 13 would be chosen for the next to last truck. The chief doctor counted out the requisite number, but he omitted the two of us. The 13 were loaded into the truck, and we had to stay behind. Surprised, very annoyed, and disappointed, we blamed the chief doctor, who excused himself by saying that he had been tired and distracted. He said that he had thought we still intended to escape. Impatiently, we sat down, keeping our rucksacks on our backs, and waited with the few remaining prisoners for the last truck. We had to wait a long time. Finally, we lay down on the mattresses of the deserted guard room, exhausted by the excitement of the last few hours and days, during which we had fluctuated continually between hope and despair. We slept in our clothes and shoes, ready for the journey. The noise of rifles and cannons woke us. The flashes of tracer bullets and gunshots entered the hut. The chief doctor dashed in and ordered us to take cover on the floor. One prisoner jumped on my stomach from the bed above me with his shoes on. That awakened me all right. Then we grasped what was happening. The battlefront had reached us. The shooting decreased and morning dawned. Outside on the pole at the camp gate, a white flag floated in the wind. Many weeks later, we found out that even in those last hours, fate had toyed with us, few remaining prisoners. We found out just how uncertain human decisions are, especially in matters of life and death. I was confronted with photographs which had been taken in a small camp not far from ours. A friend who had thought they were traveling to freedom that night had been taken in the trucks to this camp, and there they were locked in the huts and burned to death. Ooh. Their partially charred bodies were recognizable on the photograph. I thought again of death in Tehran. Apart from its role as a defensive mechanism, the prisoner's apathy was also the result of other factors. Hunger and lack of sleep contributed to it, as they do in normal life also, and to the general irritability, which was another characteristic of the prisoner's mental state. The lack of sleep was due partly to the pestering of vermin which infested the terribly overcrowded huts because of the general lack of hygiene and sanitation. The fact that we had neither nicotine nor caffeine also contributed to the state of apathy and irritability. Besides these physical causes, there were mental ones. In the form of certain complexes, the majority of prisoners suffered from a kind of inferiority complexes. We all had once been on had fancied ourselves to be somebody. Now we are treated like complete non entities. The consciousness of one's inner value is anchored in higher, more spiritual things and cannot be shaken by camp life. But how many free men, let alone prisoners, possess it? Without consciously thinking about it, the average prisoner felt himself utterly degraded. This became obvious when one observed the contrast offered by the singular sociological structure of the camp. The more prominent prisoners, the capos, the cooks, the storekeepers, and the camp policemen, did not, as a rule, feel degraded at all, like the majority of prisoners, but on the contrary, promoted. Some even developed miniature delusions of grandeur, the mental reaction of the envious and grumbling majority towards this favored minority found expression in several ways, sometimes in jokes. For instance, I heard one prisoner talk to another about a capo saying, "Imagine, I knew that man when he was only the president of a large bank. Isn't it fortunate that he has risen so far in the world?" Whenever the degraded majority and the promoted minority came into conflict, and there were plenty of opportunity for this, starting with the distribution of food, the results were explosive. Therefore, the general irritability, whose physical causes were discussed above, became more intense when these mental tensions were added. Alright, shall I keep it till here only? What should I do? ओके लेट्स कीप इट टिल हियर, क्योंकि मैंने इससे पहले एक दूसरे चैनल में भी कवर की हैं चीज़ें। तो पेज नंबर 64 से हम कवर करेंगे नेक्स्ट लाइव में। अगर आपका बुक रीडिंग, लॉजिक, क्यूरियोसिटी और नोइंग अबाउट वाई, क्यों हमको लाइक मीनिंग ऑफ लाइफ को अंडरस्टैंड करने में इंटरेस्ट है, तो आप सब्सक्राइब कर सकते हो चैनल को। थैंक यू सो मच यूनिवर्स, थैंक यू सो मच राधा रानी जी, हैव फन, पीस।